that 100 children to tune in. This year did with we one more again. But this year zooming in. We going to take on a lead journey right here in the Gullah Geechee Nation. Plenty of 100 children in the North Sea. The Gullah Geechee Nation start Jacksonville, North Kakalaki, and going all the way down Jacksonville, Florida. Oh, but this your blessed land. They're the one for which we stand. So plenty of time people are coming here, they were now upon the seafood, but I know that people like old Captain Crip and all rather was Ricky them out there with the Gullah Geechee Fishing Association. And how Ron them in a carry on this year tradition, like a Lee man do, out in the creek yonder, or like the Sam Mutra, Sam Brown, in the battle boat where we make by hand. Oh yeah, children. We still take a stand. Sometime, right yonder, behind the tree, or Honaka Yetivi. Have a soul every stitch in. The culture did it. Even when you see the sweetgrass like this year, it takes sewing for make them into these baskets, but them become iconic. And rather was, or the Palmetto Roses. Yeah, in our growth yard, they have to be put together. They have a steady hand for make the show. But what I mean to all these natural things will grow right here where we be. And we be Gullah Geechee, anointed people. I'm so glad that 100 children that tune in with me from right here in the Gullah Geechee Nation. This year the Queen Quet, head upon the body of the Gullah Geechee Nation. And you know, whenever we do this year, zooming in and things like that, we first take some time, but take a moment of silence. So this year day would have been a Ronald Kawamba Goodwine birthday. And so the day, just for him, I had to do this year broadcast. All because Kawamba, all about creativity. And this year about the creativity of the Gullah Geechee and how this year thing help with sustainability. But for Ron, God bless the dead, let we take a moment of silence. Ashe, ashe, ashe. And plenty of time when people are coming and things like that, they ain't for snow, say nothing different day and things like that. They come just for the pretty water and things like that. They don't get about the beach. They won't get the thing for Nampan and all that kind of thing like that. But they in the North Sea, when they get you, say the whole nother place. Say this is what they get about called a cultural landscape where the Gullah Geechee to be. And rather was tell the Yeti to crack with teeth like a soap. And not all that we can do this year. A lot of time when people get here, they hear us talking like this. So they still have no idea that there's a unique people here with unique traditions until many times they go tourist shopping, right? Now, some have read about the indigo and they'd like to get some of this, or they'd like to go out and find the folks that are still dyeing and batiking the cloth made from the cotton growing here. Well, we have our own unique type of cotton, but people are not growing it anymore. Long staple Sea Island cotton that most people hear about, and they hear about the enslaved Africans that grew it, but more often not, they don't hear the names of those enslaved Africans, the Igbo, Mandinka, Malinke, Yoruba, Gullah, Geechee, Mendi, Temni, Fiki, Bibio, and how they were kidnapped because of their skill set, because they had abilities to work beyond the agrarian aspects of their tradition and culture, but that there were blacksmiths that were kidnapped before the ones were kidnapped that could work this Sea Island cotton, which is cousin to Kemetic cotton, that there were those that could make and shape things into what they would need. And more often not, just like what you saw Captain Crip there sewing, and this was sewn for me by Mr. Luke Smalls. Both Captain Crip Legree and Luke Smalls are natives of St. Helena Island that kept up this cast net tradition. And you'll see there on the end what we call a bullet. Yeah, this ain't the one you have to fire with the gun, but you smelt down the metal and you make these. My father would make his own for the end of the cast net. The people in my family, they know how to make these nets by hand. This is actually all sewn. So the same way this is sewn, That is the same technique that is used in West Africa still to make largely, instead of these type of cast nets, you'll see what we call, we did crack on teach you call them the sand net. So you'll see a long stretched out net that people would take out into bodies of water. And I say bodies of water because the ocean in some places, the creeks in other places are where we go out and we do this. But in the Gullah Geechee Nation, over time, we have had people come in and set laws in place that say, well, in some places you can use the same net, other places you cannot. So in Florida, they can use it. Here in South Carolina, you can't use it. So you get fined. And so then we've had a lot of damage done to our traditions because people don't understand all those traditions and they really don't realize they connect to a unique cultural community like ours, the Gullah Geechee Nation, which goes from Jacksonville, North Carolina to Jacksonville, Florida, as you saw on the map. And then you saw that golden section that took you 35 miles inland to the St. Johns River. So all throughout these sea islands, these traditions have been passed down and they've literally been stitched into our families, stitched into the communities. They are what bind us and hold us together as Gullah Geechee people. Without the cast nets, without the bateau boat, the flat bottom wooden boat being made by hand, we would starve. We wouldn't be able to eat and sustain ourselves. That's how our ancestors did it. That's how we do it. Nowadays, some people get a boat made of fiberglass, but they can't repair it themselves usually if some damage comes to it. If they run up on a bank and it get bust, they in trouble. Where when people making their own boats and sustaining them, they sustain the community. So we have kept these traditions going from the 16, 17, 18, 1900s into the 2000s. And so you have people like the late Sam Mutri of Palawana Island. That was also a relative of mine that not only could make the cast nets, but he was the boatman. And that had been passed down from Sonny Goodwine and others, how to make boats, not just the bateau boat, but also the shrimp boat. So when you see those large nets on the shrimp boat, our folks down in Jacksonville still make those. And then Jacksonville and Yulee and O'Neill, Florida, they make those by hand. And then it got to the point they were working in factories. Well, when people stopped using the handmade nets, people started buying these nylon nets because they felt they were less expensive, but you might buy 2 or 3 of them during a season versus if you buy this, you get this one, you make it or you buy it. You cast this over Oster Bank and cut them up and things like that. Somebody can sew this your thing back together. Sewing again. So people have the ingenuity, the wherewithal to keep their culture alive. And they would sew it in. And it would take time to sit and do it. So here it is that the factory folks got those folks to start making nets. And guess what? They now make athletic nets, volleyball nets and stuff like that for you to play on the beach or for you to play inside a gymnasium or other places. So here it is that this ingenuity that comes from the motherland is still within our bodies and within our fingers here in the Gullah Geechee Nation. And most people never think of that. They only think of us when they start seeing these. I don't children know what this is. Huh? Sweetgrass basket ring. But look at them close now. That thing also got long leaf pine needle deer and everything like that. So that's why it's so important to us to protect the maritime forests of this area. Our culture and our crafts come from a balanced environment. And so that we have the resources to sustain ourselves and sustain these cultural traditions that came over in the belly of the beast, in the hearts, the souls, and the minds of our ancestors, and been passed down all these generations. This is a blessing. And we need to make sure that we continue to bless the land so the land will bless us. So we'll always be able to pass these traditions on and pass these traditions down. Because this is where it begins. Scriptures say, never despise the day of a humble beginning. Well, you can't get a whole basket, tell her to learn how to do this, yeah. You learn how to do this, yeah. Then after a little while, you learn how to do a little bit more things. It learn how to make the Palmetto Roses. And let we talk about this, yeah. Some of the children in country town and get one of these, yeah, carry them back or get a bunch of them, carry them back and things like that, and throw them around and things like that, or because they color chin, because they dry, you know, and Hunter might be get them when it be green. You ain't no study them, any. But let me let Hunter know something. This your thing, you need for whole upon them, yeah, put them in safe keeping, because we the fight for whole Panisha tradition in Chucktown. In the city of Charleston, we have had our children get harassed by the police and arrested for keeping up the cultural tradition of making the Palmetto Roses. You can go to Savannah and see brothers on the square making these, but if you come through Charleston, South Carolina, all through downtown, you can see young people walking around with these. Sometimes in their hand it's a whole bundle of them. Sometimes it might be one because they down to the last one they got for sale. Or you see them with the palmetto. That is what this is made of, which is South Carolina state tree. Okay, so you see them with a bundle of palmetto, walking with it under their arm, walking with it in their hand. And these folks want the children not to sell these, but this is a legal business. And right now, when school is going back in session, and we're praying for all the students that they be safe with this going back to school face-to-face thing that some are doing. So these students would raise their own money for their clothes, for their school supplies. Many times their families don't have a lot of other income, but this is a legal and traditional way for them to raise money, is by them making these by hand. Talk about a skill, talk about an art, to make this and then go out there and sell it in the heat, in the cold, or whatever they have to do, and have a pocket full of money because they are continuing to make their tradition a part of a legal economy. So now they throwing churn in the slammer for doing what we tradition. That thing out of order. And some of the children who watch Gullah Geechee TV, you know I done cracked my teeth for Danny. Okay, those who watch Gullah Geechee TV, you heard me on there speaking out against the arrest and the harassment of our children because they are continuing our tradition with the Palmetto Roses. You don't hear of anybody getting arrested if they'd have loaned this on top of your head or they'd have sewn them together, none of that kind of thing like that. The full Sweetgrass Basket. You go from this year or grow up to making this year. Okay, and once again, we have to protect our environment, our natural community, because every one of these strips, you're not only sewing in palmetto. This is not only what you're threading with. You are also threading with hundreds of years of knowledge, hundreds of years of ancestry. Blood, sweat, and tears goes into all this. You have in this one, bulrush, sweetgrass, and also again pine needle. So you see the variation in the color scheme there. And this is a very, very old basket that was given to me, that was made by Sister Taylor. And I have another one that's 100 years old that was given to me by one family that I carry things in. But this basket, if you look past the Carolina gold rice here, y'all want to look at the rice and think that y'all want to damn put them to get your eye off the rice. We ain't serve that today. Okay then. So now, even if it been, y'all couldn't get them any. I know y'all say virtually I shouldn't even mention the food for y'all name funny thing like that. But our foodways are a craft as well, but we're gonna talk about that on another show. But the Sweetgrass baskets have become iconic for the representation of Gullah Geechee culture. It is actually the official craft of the state of South Carolina. Now, if you look at this one is called the Fanta basket, and they come in all different shapes and all different sizes for different uses. Our ancestors made these because they were utilitarian. They needed them to work with. Now people buy them, they hang on the wall, they sit on the shelf, sit in the middle of the table, you know, because they're pretty. I still use this one. So y'all have seen me fan it in many videos and other things like that over the years. If you haven't, go to gullahgeechee.tv and I'm sure you'll see me many times doing that. This one, you notice, has colors in it. The person that owns the patent to making sweetgrass baskets in the Gullah Geechee Nation that have colors in it is one of our Wisdom Circle Council of Elders members, Vera Manigo. She is a native of Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. Mount Pleasant, South Carolina is also where South Carolina has a historic marker honoring the sweetgrass basket tradition. And this tradition continues to be carried on by natives of Mount Pleasant, 7 Mile, 8 Mile, 10 Mile, St. Phillips, all them kind of things. The folk used to do that on Remley Point and all that thing like that. People would have make these young. So almost every other family would know how to do this as a tradition, but not the adding of color. That's Vera's specialty. So if you get a colored basket, you really have a treasure, because you're not going to see a bunch of these. Now, I know when you look at the ones that our cousins make in West Africa, they look very similar. But if you look at what's sewn into the basket, what is used as a thread, a lot of times the colors are plastic, where this is all naturally dyed. And so once again, if you look at the center, you see this tone here is not dyed. That's actually longleaf pine needle. Then you see the sweetgrass, all right? And then you see way around the edges here, up in here, the darker tone in here, that's the bulrush, all right? And so when we say sweetgrass basket, it's not always just sweetgrass that it's made of. It's always palmetto and sweetgrass, but it can also have bulrush there and longleaf pine needle. Now, you see how that circle in the center is? That's a starter. Now, this is something that gets the whole thing to grind. So you have to first start studying from this level, and from this level, when they see your skill set and your patience and getting it right and doing the things nice and neat, then gradually it'll teach you how to start your basket. And then if you can get this here right, then you can go around and run, make your basket. And then when you come to the edge, you can decide what size you're trying for making all that. I've made a basket over the years and a few roses, and that just ain't for me, right? But one of the things that is for me that I don't mind doing when I have the time to do it is actually a tradition that my family continues to pass down. And all of these traditions, again, have to be sewn. We do not weave sweetgrass baskets, we sew the basket, all right? The same way we sew quilts. And so when we start to talk about traditions and crafts in the Gullah Geechee Nation, we are talking about stitching a legacy together. So when you go to Sierra Leone, for instance, in West Africa, and you see that they have quilts there, guess what? That's because of the repatriated Gullah Geechees that went back to Africa that took it there. There's no reason for people to just be making quilts in Africa. Africa and that part of Africa is hot. So they don't necessarily need this. But this tradition went back with the native Gullah Geechees that went and settled Freetown. And there were native Gullah Geechees that settled Liberia, all right? And that was all part of repatriation. So where the sweetgrass basket tradition, the cast net tradition came to North America and to the Sea Islands from the motherland, from Alkebulan and things like that, we sent this back the other way, along with our people. So the traditions have been stitched over time, stitched over location, and they fit within our African cosmology because the crafts in Mother Africa often have to do with making your own clothing, making your own cloth, and adorning yourself. As you see here, that I'm adorned today as well with sweetgrass, you see? So the creativity is part of our living legacy. But a lot of people miss all the other myriad of things that Gullah Geechees make because we only look to the baskets and we only look to sweetgrass and think that's the only craft there is. But no, there are a lot of crafts that are part of our cultural continuum. And one of those is also woodwork. If you go into a number of homes throughout the Gullah Geechee Nation, you will see some of the most extraordinary woodwork you ever want to see that our ancestors did in homes and made the walls ever so smooth and did all of this handcrafted work that now is a rare thing to find. So some others would take from that or what they left off from indoor work and then use the pieces to create art. So today, I'm dedicating this program to my brother Ron, God bless the dead, Kuwamba, creativity, because he not only was a construction person who would build your house, he could build you beautiful cabinets and other things like that, and then etch into them. And I used to watch him etch things from the time I was little and wondered how he did it. And just as he was getting geared up again, he started Kuwamba's Creations. And we used to have them at the St. Helena Community Market. And so pieces of his have gone all over the US from people purchasing them there. And then also people would order specialized versions to have for their homes. So one of them that he made for me that I want you to see is this one. They said, God done smiled upon me. You see? This, as you saw in the video, is actually what we call wood burning. All right? And so he did not do this with a blowtorch. I know that there's some others, Reverend Johnny Simmons of St. Helena, he carries it on, but they use a blowtorch where Kuwamba would use the sun. Just use the sun and burn it into the wood. Yes. So that's what you saw in that video. So again, we're talking about skills. We're talking about people carving out and etching out, like Halim Gullah, God bless the dead, who was on our Wisdom Circle Council of Elders. Would make the Gullah Bambarine. He's made my stamping stick that many of you saw. He would then shine the wood with glass. You would think that he would lacquer it, you know, put some kind of sheen on it with something painted on. No, would use glass on it. And I've watched many other elder men up and down the coast, on the Georgia coast, and also up in Georgetown, South Kakalaki, in that area, not far from Paulie's Island. We have a brother there that sells everything from walking sticks and canes to tabletops and various other types of things, statues. We had Brother Obama out of Savannah, Georgia, carve people, and the wood would now look like that person was standing there right before your face. Skills, crafts. They did not kidnap us, dry long sewing, thing like that. We were called black gold because we were rich and we made riches for many that enslaved our people in North America, especially here, where the cornerstone of America was laid because of the exploitation of who was called black gold, black cargo, our people. They were brought in because they had skill sets, not just randomly kidnapped. The skill sets are what is still sewn within the very DNA of each and every Gullah Geechee. It's a matter of whether you are honing your craft. Honing your craft does not mean, oh, I see so-and-so doing this and they look like they make money doing it. Let me copy what they're doing. That's not honing your craft. Honing your craft is praying, seeking, finding your purpose, and then letting God feed into you what you are to do in that regard. So that's why, as much as I love sitting there and I loved making the basket, I loved learning how to make the rolls, I knew that wasn't going to be a job for me or nothing. And most folks that do it would tell you, well, no, it's not a job. It's a love, it's a passion. It's a desire that they want to keep their traditions going, but it also helps financially with paying land taxes, with children's school clothes. Got them churn with a make it basket, and if it could have sold a basket to the stand and thing like that on Highway 17 or down in the market, then they could have get whatever they want for school and thing like that. And mama, them ain't behalf of vex about, oh, great God, how we gonna pay for this show. And so there are a lot of power-filled things that's in every stitch that comes in to these fingers in the Gullah Geechee Nation. And every design of a craft for the water that will flow out. And we often overlook these things. We overlook the elders that have these traditions still within them, that are willing to pass them on if you would sit still. So what a time we have right now, when many of us are social distancing, but we're back on the family compound. You have multiple generations there together. This is an opportunity to sit by Big Daddy, Mama them, and Grandma them, and yeti them. Learn them for do this, y'all. Learn your family craft. That might be painting pictures. That might be wood burning. That might be whittling wood. That might be making baskets out of other things. Because in the PD River region, they're more inland, so they're not pulling sweetgrass from along this intercoastal waterway. You saw how it looked like a plant, a nice, beautiful purple plant. You don't pull it at that point. But when it's harvest time, you pull the grass, and that allows you to prune out the little bush, and more can grow. And it's sustained through all of the natural things that happen, forest fires and flooding and salt water and brackish water and various things, the birds coming by. They're sustained that way. They don't do so well in nurseries. And we're sustained by all the things we come up against. But we pray and we meditate and we're able to fight back and hold on to who you be right here. So part of holding on is stitching this thing together and knowing that there's not any one place Gullah Geechees came from in Africa. There's not any one tradition we brought. We brought multiple traditions. We put them together to create an entire community. What got you want with for cracky teeth and things like that. And got you want with for so these y'all think so much a different thing, or we can show together and then make them so we can use this y'all for feed the family. And so we definitely got to start feeding the family souls and spirits as we sit together with these elders during a time such as this, and become the repositories and the vessels, be the living baskets to retain the traditions and to carry the traditions on. So I wanted to make sure that I would make August 12th Kuamba Day in my life, Creativity Day in honor of my late brother. And I would inspire others to be creative. So you might say, Queen, quit, that sewing thing, I ain't care what kind of sewing it is, I ain't gonna do all that. And if I try to take a hammer and sew in my hand, y'all, I ain't gonna have no hand left. I hear you. That's why I say again, what's your calling? What does God purpose you to do? We ain't all gonna do the same thing. But if we do what we do well and bring it all together, it makes us that much stronger. As strong as those baskets. As Vera would often tell people, the bulrush is where? In the scriptures, right? That bulrush saved Moses, right? Riding down the waterway. And then way later, Moses came to this waterway, this creek, y'all, for saying we. But it been a woman named Moses then, Harriet Tubman, who had let him know, you can't turn back. As we say, oh no, don't turn back. Oh no, don't turn back. Oh no, don't turn back and make my leader ashamed. So when we go back, let's go back and fetch it. Because if Hona ain't know where Hona the day from, Hona ain't going to know where Hona the guai. One word called Sankofa. So we need to go back sometime to the past to retain those things that we need to take us into the future. So again, there's a lot more about who we be. If Hona find we at GullahGeecheeNation.com, GullahGeecheeNation.com. Follow we at Gullah Geechee on Twitter and on Instagram, and celebrate our living legacy of these cultural crafts and this creativity and how it has always helped to sustain who we be. And so in honor of my brother today. I'm going to close out with a poem that he wrote. But even though I write poems, this is the one poem that I ever memorized. I don't even memorize the ones that I write. And that's a craft, that's a skill too. And it's all about, with it, what will you do? But let me just do this one for Ron and let y'all grind on and get your hands to working in a way that you can sustain your legacy and sustain your community. Snowy white beams of light show me the way, but blind my sight. Gave to me a brand new name. Gone from me, my heritage I claim. Put me to work in the red hot sun, picking tomatoes, tobacco, and cotton. But then came the war to set me free, to burn and bury my misery. It's a brand new day that has been born. I think it's time for us to be moving on. So we moving on, we zooming on. Y'all stay safe, stay healthy. Tanky for join me. This year the Queen Quet, head from the body of the Gullah Geechee Nation. And we honor all 100 children that keeping grind we craft and making we culture be sustainable. Oh, we the binya. We in the grind away tall. So them children will have a had this year, but we leave with them all. All right? Y'all children, take care now. God bless you. Peace.